Sorry on the beat.
What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing an in-depth analysis and a quick review of one of my favorite rappers, Lil Vert, and one of his first official mixtapes, Love Is Rage. Now before we get into the analysis and review of this tape, let's just go through a little background of it. This tape dropped in October 2015 and it really started Uzi's path to stardom. It kind of took him to the next level, and I'd say even though it's not a classic, it's definitely up there as one of those mixtapes that you definitely have to go back to and bump time to time again. Now before the drop of this tape, Uzi was highly associated with fellow rapper Young Thug and did have a couple of collaborations with him. One of them which made it to Young Thug's mixtape, Slime Season 2. The title of the track was called Big Racks and it was on the intro. This track, although Uzi's part of it was pretty short, I'd say it did introduce him to a wider audience and also increased anticipation for his first official mixtape. The tape is just over an hour long, boasts 16 tracks, and has a lot of content to it. So with all that said, we're going to be diving down into the details and going into the data and analysis of the lyrics and content of the album, so stay tuned. Alright, so let's start with the analysis over here, and we can start with the word breakdown just to keep things simple. We can see that over the course of the album, Uzi has about 9,905 total words spoken. And out of all of those, about 2,834 of those are unique words. So Uzi's probably not as repetitive as people might think, but we're going to get into repetition later on. He has 1,170 total bars. Now, these bars are just his bars. It doesn't include his features or anything like that. It's just strictly his content. Now, in terms of repetition, this actually didn't go as expected because I actually thought Uzi would have been way more repetitive than this just from listening to his music. But we can see that he's actually not as repetitive as people might think, and there's actually a pattern to his repetition over the course of the album. I would say 86 is actually not a bad number. We can see from the first few tracks, Safe House, Banned from TV, he kind of hovers between 5 to 6 repetitions per song. And the way these repetitions are counted, it's not the total amount of repetition. So if Uzi says a specific line, the same line 5 times, that would just count as 1 repetition. So that's why the numbers wouldn't be as high as most people would think. So yeah, he hovers between 5 and 6 repetitions for the first few tracks. Then he drops down to 1 repetition for Lamborghini Dream. But I'd say that's just because most of the songs are actually done by Young Thug or performed by Young Thug, and Uzi just had a verse. Then he goes back up again to between 8 and 9 for Right Now and Moist, and then drops back down a little bit for a few other tracks, and then hovers back up again. So you can see there's like a pattern of how many repetitions he has between the songs. I don't know if that's done on purpose or not, but it does sit well with the album. It does match the entire vibe and feel of the album, so I'd say it's still top tier regardless. And then we go into the content distribution, and like for this part, I kind of expected this because Uzi does a lot of singing and he also does a lot of rapping, of course, but most of his bars are like kind of harmonized. Like he does a lot of melodies and harmonizing, kind of like what Young Thug does and a lot of rappers these days do. So he had a good balance between singing and rapping over the album. But some songs in particular actually had a significantly greater percentage of rapping or singing. So songs like Super Saiyan had about 83% or 84% rapping and just 16% singing. And also some other songs like 7 a.m. had a huge amount of singing and barely any rapping. Some songs didn't even have any rapping at all. Some songs were just completely singing, and then other songs were just completely rapping, like Safe House. Safe House had 0% singing. So let's take a quick look at the breakdown of the word usage and what percentage of words were used the most. We can see that Uzi actually uses a lot of possessive pronouns over the course of the album, and that's going to make a lot more sense later when we look at the category distribution. 2 of the top used words on this album are I and my, which just shows you how much Uzi likes talking about himself and also his possessions, just basically going about bragging, talking about balling and flexing in general. Some of the most used words are also ad-libs. As you can see over here, we have A, it accounts for 1.89% of the total words used on the album, and also yeah, which we all know Uzi says a whole lot, which accounts for 2.36% of the album in this case. Some other words here are words Uzi usually uses as fillers, words like, which Uzi uses when he's just trying to, bridge between 2 different bars, and Most of the other words are common words you would see, words just like pronouns like you, and then words like on, dad, the common stuff. Certain songs had a really large percentage of ad-libs in them. Specific songs, like I just want to point out a few songs like Top had A 76 times, which was way higher than any other word used over the course of the song. The next closest word is I, which is used about 30 times, which is less than half of that, so there's no comparison. It doesn't even come close. And same thing goes for a song like Queso, where Uzi doesn't talk that much about his possessions and himself, but talks a whole lot about Queso. And you can see here, Queso said about 40 times in the song. And then the next most used word is the, which is used about 25 times. Songs like Banned from TV and Paradise had a whole lot of yes in them. Banned from TV had 48 yes to be exact. And it's actually not that much more than the next closest word, which is O. O had about 32 entries in that song, so it's not that much of a difference, but it's still a great song regardless, and I love that song, so props to Uzi for that one. Real quick before we move to the next section, Enemies had the most usage of I's, which with the 41, and then the next closest word on that was mine, then you, and then so on. So there we have that. And now we finally have the last category we're going to talk about, which is the category distribution. And this is going to be where we kind of see what topics Uzi raps about the most in his lyrics. And we can see here that money, possessions, and flexing, and balling, and all those type of things holds the most weight. So 265 bars have this topic. So he talks about money, having a Bentley, having a Rolls Royce, all that type of stuff the most over the course of the album. And just as a quick side note, some of these bars do overlap, and some bars aren't even categorized at all, so they're not even here. That's why if you add all of these numbers up, they don't add up to the total number of bars I reported earlier in the video. So yeah, so there's overlap. Some bars do have two categories in them, so it's counted twice, one for each of those categories. Love and Lust do also hold a fair share of the amount of the total categories. The album is titled Love is Rich, so we kind of all expected that. We also kind of do expect Uzi to talk about money and possessions and flexing. That's kind of what he does. We're all used to that already. He also talks about like beef and the opposition and threats to the ops and haters. That's a decent amount as well, 119 bars with that. That category did have a lot of overlap with guns and weapons, as you can see over here. We had 34 for that category. Money, possessions, and flexing also had overlap with fashion. So I wanted to have those as one category, but I just wanted to see how many fashion brands he actually referenced. That's why I had that separately. He talks a lot about the come up. There's a few religious references, just 4 in this scenario. There's also Britney references. He mentions Britney's name 5 times over the course of the album. And then there are bars that are actually just straight up ad-libs, like nothing else, just ad-libs. And there are 22 of those. And then a few bars about the gang and family and stuff like that. So there you have it. And with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up with my quick review of this album / mixtape. I'm gonna go ahead and give this album a 9 out of 10 just because of how much influence it had on rap culture, as well as Uzi's delivery and flow and lyrics on this entire thing. He went crazy on it. The production was top tier as well. I have to give props to Don Cannon and Molly Raw. Sunny Digital too, because the production on songs like Right Now, Top, 7 a.m. it's just different. Like, this tape was my first introduction to, I don't want to say emo rap, but rap music with a rock star type of feel. And Uzi did a good job in just flowing on those beats and delivering fresh content for us. And another thing that really makes this album stand out for me is its replay value. Like, this album dropped in 2015, but a lot of people still listen to it a lot. It still has good songs on it. The songs aren't just songs that just, you just play in the moment. They're songs that you want to keep listening to, and they have that vibe to them. So that's one of the reasons why I just got to give it a really high number in terms of my review. It's just that good in my opinion. And I won't call it a classic, but it's been the blueprint for a lot of new artists. So you just got to give it props. Like, you just got to. And there you have it, guys. That is all the analysis content I have for you today regarding Lil Uzi Vert Love is Rage. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and as well as any other data you would like to see, like anything else or any comments you might have on anything I talked about, how the charts look, any type of feedback, constructive or not, it doesn't matter. Just let me know. Appreciate you, and make sure to subscribe to the channel.